my channel. So today I'm going to do a review on the second book of the Night Huntress series, and it's One Foot in the Grave by Jeaniene Frost. And yeah, so let's get started on this. So remember, the first one ended and I was really irritated, but she left Bones, the vampire she fell in love with, to save him. So then this one starts kind of off of that, but then the way this started made me even a little more angry. It said 4 years later, so they were apart for 4 years. Guys, that's really irritating to me. But anyway, so she vanished in thin air. He wasn't able to find her. And he stopped trying because he's like, well, obviously she doesn't want me to. But I mean, he tried a lot. But she was leading a team that she got to pick and train to help her find and kill bad vampires. So then it starts out with her going to this really grand house looking for this really old vampire. And his name's Ian. And she actually gets to slip up on him and almost kills him. And then she finds out he's the one that turned Bones. And knowing that would upset Bones to kill him, and because Bones helped save her mother, she was like, I owe him a life, and so I'm not going to kill you. And while they were fighting, Ian found out from her saying, oh yeah, no, I'm like half vampire, half human. And he's like, I don't really believe that. But then when her eyes showed and she had a legit heartbeat, he couldn't believe it. And he was like, oh my gosh. And then she let him go, but she killed his friend. He had a ghoul, like a friend that was with him that she killed, that he was friends with for like over 200 years. And so he was really upset about that, and that comes into play later, but that she killed him. But she let Ian go, and then she told her team that like she stabbed herself before they got there, because they were calling her cell phone, she wasn't answering, so they were told to come in. And they did, and Ian was gone, but she has stabbed herself, but they didn't know that. And she's like, he got me and got away. And because he's very powerful master vampire, and because he's the one that made Bones, he's even older and more powerful than Bones. And Bones is like down his line of lineage or whatever. And but he's like a really bad dude. But there obviously must be more to him, like she says later on, because Bones and him did have a bond. I mean, he resented the fact that he forced him to be turned into a vampire, but they still have some sort of a bond. And so she later on says there must be more to him than I know if they have a bond, because Bones is a really good guy. Anyway, but before she let Ian go, she made him believe that she hated Bones. She just let him go because she owed him the life of her mother. And later on, when he talks to Bones, Bones keeps going on about, because Ian is becoming obsessed with her because she's so rare. And he's a collector of rare things, that Bones is trying to dissuade him of that, by saying not nice things about her. So he thinks they hate each other, which works in their favor later. But anyway, he begins to hunt her, like seek her out. And then, anyway, then Bones and Cat end up running into each other by accident. Even though one of her earlier missions, he found out like she was going to be there, so he left her old watch that the first book pushed the button that he used to come save her from that bad guy vampire. He left for her, and he waited for her to show up and push the button so they could. And one of her team members actually brought it back, and when she saw it, she kind of went a little hysterical because she knew if she had been there, she would have pushed the button. she wouldn't have been able to stop herself. Because even after 4 years, she's still in love with him. And she's just recently started dating a vet, a human guy. His name was Noah. But she wasn't really feeling it. She was going to break up with him anyway. But he comes with her to a wedding of her best friend that she made since she moved to this new place. They've been best friends for 4 years, and she knows exactly what she is, and she's human. And she's getting married kind of quick after meeting this guy. And she met this guy, and he's really great. And he's supposed to be like brilliant hacker or whatever. And then Bones is at the wedding. He's the best man. She's the maid of honor. And she's like, what? Like, did you find out I was going to be here and, like, make him your best man? He's like, no, actually, we've known each other for, like, 6 months before our friends even met. And so he asked me, and I didn't, you know. But he's like, I did find out it was you, and I came to your place the one night. And she's like, yeah, no, I felt there was an energy there, but that was you. And he's like, yeah. But anyway, like, he kept basically trying to have a talk with her about why she left, and she kept trying to avoid it. And then finally they did have their talk, and he found out she left because she was trying to protect him. And he was like, you're trying to protect me, Master Vampire? And she's like, yes, because you're not invincible. And he's like, I know that, but she's like, plus my mom wouldn't have gone off with us at all because she hates vampires. And he's like, yeah, well, I still want to be with you. And she's like, oh, well, I want to be with you too. So they start dating in secret again and taking it kind of slow, even though I don't know why, but I think she just didn't want to rush things and wanted to keep it secret. But then it was her mom found out, and well, she came over to chew cat out about something, about seeing Bones at the wedding. And saw him there, and then they like hash it out, and she thought her mom was going to go right off to her boss, but she didn't, probably just biding her time, is what she said. But he basically is like, we're in a relationship, it's going to be that way whether you like it or not, Justina. And she left, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't, you know, it's tugged at her heart like a lot. But he's just like, if she cares about you, she's gonna have to accept it, because I'm not gonna hide like I did last time. And she's like, no, and you shouldn't have to. I don't want you to. I don't want to hide you. And then one of her co-workers that's in love with her sees him going in and doesn't realize who it is, because he was one of the guys that he like attacked when he was trying to save her at the end of the other book. Didn't kill him, just but he's like in love with her, and he just sees it's a vampire and is upset. And she goes to work, and because they call her in, and she basically discloses, I'm dating a vampire. She didn't disclose who yet, because Bones asked her not to. And the reason is because when they went on a date, someone tried to shoot her in the head, a sniper, and he went and killed the sniper, but he found out who was trying to get her. Sorry, my throat's having a little bit of issues. And the vampire that's trying to get her is actually her father, the vampire that raped her mother. And it's because he found out about her and that she's even stronger than he is, because he's only a vampire that's like 20-something years old, so he's like really a newbie, like he's not a strong vampire at all. And she's been trained, and so she can kill master vampires. And she almost killed Ian. So she's actually very strong, because Bones taught her so well as she's just naturally strong and gifted and fast and everything. And so he's afraid that she can kill him. He's a coward, so he's basically trying to pay hitmen to kill her without Ian finding out, because Ian also made him, just like he made Bones. And so he doesn't want Ian to find out, because he knows Ian wants her to collect her basically as a rare, because she's rare. So he's doing it behind Ian's back. And Bones comes to her work basically and has it shut down, and finds a guy that is the mole at work, helping her dad try to get her killed. And after her boss and men find out everything out from this mole, after Bones interrogated him in front of everybody, then they're like, kill him. And so Bones killed him. And then, and then she found out that Don, her boss, was actually her uncle. And that's how he knew about her and tracked her all along. Because he found out what his brother turned into, when his brother did, and and he kept track of her until the right time, and then blackmailed her rather than telling her. And he also didn't tell her, even though he took all of her blood tests and blood tests for men, that if she drank vampire blood, it would add like another 50 years to your life, as well as the human guys. And so, and then Bones also told her, but because you have vampire as well, like it probably doubles that for you than humans. It's probably more like 100 years, but because she was like upset when they were first trying to get together, because he was like, she's like, you're not turning me a vampire. He's like, I would never do that, for one. But for two, you don't need to worry because you've never been sick. Like after you like hit like a certain age, like you've naturally stopped aging. You look the exact same, and you shouldn't. Like you should have a little bit of pores, wrinkles, just slightly, even though you're only 27, and you don't. You still look like you're 19. Like you probably stopped aging when you were 19 because you have vampire. But the fact that you've drank quite a bit of vampire blood when you were with me, and then even now, like without me 4 years, you've been drinking it a little bit out in the field to make you stronger to fight the really strong vampires, because it makes you stronger and faster. And he does even the humans. And he's like, and you had them drink it too, a little bit to keep them alive while fighting vampires. And so it's added years to their life as well. And she's like, I never knew that. And he's like, yeah, well, I never told you, but because it just never came up when we were together. But then she was mad because her uncle Don, her boss, also knew this because he'd done all the blood work from them, and he hadn't told her or her men. And so she ended up telling her men in front of them, and they were like, what? Some of them were upset, and other ones were like, hey, that's cool with me. And in the beginning of the book, one of her men died, and she tried to put vampire blood in his mouth, but he died before the vampire blood could help him. And that's important. But anyway, so then Bones and her work together, and with her team and her boss, because her boss basically, Bones says, we're going to be together, so I'm going to work here too and help you guys. And at first he was like, I don't think so. But then they come around and they're like, yeah, no, that could be really useful. Even though we have vampires, but just the bad ones, because of Kat and what she learned from Bones, that not all vampires are bad, or ghouls. And so they're like planning to set a trap for Ian, because Ian is planning on kidnapping like 3 of her men, to try to get her to do what he wants, to join him, basically become like his sex toy that he collects. And she also wants to try to kill her father. So then they have this plan, and they train her men a lot to try to help capture vampires without killing them, because they're pretty good at killing them, but capturing them is a lot harder than just killing them. So they train with vampires. A vampire, a girl one that they have, that they've been draining blood out of. And she actually knows Bones and scared of him. And so she doesn't kill them, and she just hurts them a lot. But it's good training. And then they ended up kidnapping like 6 of Ian's men. And he thinks it's... sorry. And then he thinks that he's got her men. He doesn't realize that his men's been captured. And a friend of Bones helped her, a girlfriend that he changed over the years ago, and she's like in love with Bones, and Kat and her had like a huge fight. But I'm not gonna reveal too much about all that. But anyway, she ended up helping capture these men. And then but Noah was taken by, because Ian thought they were still in a relationship and that he mattered to Kat. And he was the only one that Ian had. And so it ended up that he sent her to a spa before she was going to meet up with Ian's men. So she didn't smell like Bones. And so she had to go like sweat smell all out of her so they didn't smell him on her, because they're supposed to hate each other. And then, but anyway, they also met his grandsire, the guy who made Ian, a while ago, tried to get under his line so he could basically cut off from Ian, and be under protection under Mercari's, because Mercari's Ian will not challenge. For sure. But then they came up with this whole other plan with Mercari's there. But Mercari's really likes Bones. Usually takes his side over Ian's, which upsets Ian. But anyway, and he is like super powerful. Like he can hear half-breed and human minds, not vampires, and he can see into the future a little bit, because he's been alive a really long time. She said when he came in the room, it was like so much power that she could feel. And just touching him was like being shocked a lot, like to death kind of thing. Anyway, but he's like a good guy from what I've seen. Anyway, then, and Mercari's actually ends up being there too, but she gets all dolled up and she goes and she's talking to Ian, and he's got like tons of his lineage there and Bones and everybody. And she basically challenges like, hey, pick your best man, I'll fight him to win Noah, or to get, say, one of my men at my pick, because he was going to kill one in front of her to basically pay back her killing his ghoul friend in the beginning of the book. And so he agrees to it, and she says, I pick Noah. And then right then, before they start fighting, Bones is like, hey, I want to break off your line. It's time for me to be my own master and the master of everyone I've created, human, non-human, like everything that's mine should be mine. But Ian agreed rather quickly. He's like, yeah, you're right, because they've always been really close. And so he was like, you know what, you're right, it's fine, so you can be your own master, and does it in front of everybody so everyone knows. And then she fights this huge ghoul that's really hard, and he almost killed her, but then she ended up miraculously killing him, and everyone was like stunned. And then they let Noah go, and then Bones like, well, I'm gonna leave, but before I go, I'm gonna congratulate, Kat, kind of thing, even though we don't like each other. And then he ends up kissing her and healing her with his blood, because he bit his tongue as she drank it while they're kissing. Ian's really upset, and he's like, let her go, she's mine. Like, it's like, well, let's let her choose. And so she's like, I choose Bones. And he was like really upset, but basically came to find out because they've drank each other's blood and slept together. She's basically his property. But then she did something stupid, and she was about to leave with him. She was like, but I, according to vampire law, challenge Max, I want to kill him, kind of thing. And then he laughed, and he's like, so you consider yourself a vampire? So, being sire, and Max is your sire, so, because he's your father, so you're in my line, so you're my property, and Bones can't do anything about it, otherwise it'll be worse, so you have to stay here with me. And she was like, oh crap. But then Bones was like, unless she becomes my wife. And it's like a vampire thing. So he like cuts his hand and like says a special vow to her. And before she does it, they explain to her that like vampires cannot divorce, kind of a thing. And Mancheras then appears and explains all that to her. So she knows what she's going to agree to. And Ian's like really mad, but he gives her a really good deal. Like, you can still leave. You can take Max with you. Like, you don't have to stay with me as long as you don't marry Bones. And I think it's just because he's like, wants to bide his time to get her. But if she marries Bones, he can't, because then he could start a war. And he knows Mancheras will back Bones, and so he let Bones be his own sire now, like his own master now. And so he's just like, I can't go to war with Bones. And Manchera's like, I can't do that. And so he's doing everything he can to prevent her. And when he brings Max in, she realizes how much she hates him and wants to kill him because of what he did to her mother. He's like, that's not what I did. I did sleep with her. And he tried to like say this whole thing, but she's some of the things he says, she realizes she doesn't believe him. But she realizes he planted some of the thoughts in her mother's head that all vampires are demons. Because he said it to her. And yeah. But then she realizes, and she even says to him, like, as much as I hate you and want to kill you, I love Bones more. And so then she slices her hand and puts it over his, and then she says the words, and then they're married. And that made Ian really mad, so then they left together. But before they left, Bones basically told Ian what Max had been doing behind his back, tried to kill Kat. And he had proof of it. And Ian got really mad and left with Max. And Max, you could tell, was like, oh crap. But then she left, and yeah, she told her man that they were married, basically. Not human laws, but vampire. And then she found out from Bones and his ghoul friend, Ronnie. He was in the first book a little bit, and then in this book a little bit, that because her friend in the beginning had vampire blood while he was dying, he could be brought back, but as a ghoul. But it would be a lot harder to bring him back because he had been buried for so many months. Like 3 months, I think it was. And he's like, do you all want that? But you all have to accept him. You can't prejudice against him, because otherwise he can't accept himself. And he's like, he'll be the same. Just what he eats is different. Like, because ghouls eat humans, but usually they eat raw meat, but they also eat like dead humans. Like, and they're all like, no, we love our friend, we can accept him. And so him and Ronnie bring him back, Dave, and they're all like crying and happy at the end. And yeah, that's where it ends. And so I'm going to read just a couple lines. So one was, I've been looking for you every day since you left me. You'll live as long as you want to, just as you are. You've had your shot at things, now let me have mine. Like, those are some of the things that Bones said to her in the beginning before they started dating again. And so she had them going over and over in her mind. But then she ended up dating him again, accepting. And then this is when her mom found him at her place and found out they're dating. She turned to me in a fit of wrath. For God's sake, Catherine, what is wrong with you? Did he put you under spell again? That drew outright laughter from Bones. He uncoiled himself from the sofa with effortless grace, walking to her as she stepped back several paces. If anyone's under a spell, Justina, it's me. Your daughter put one on me 5 years ago, and I haven't broken free of it yet. Oh, and you'll be delighted to know we've decided to resume our relationship. Don't bother with congratulations. Trust me, your expression is congratulations now. So I like that because he really holds his own with Justina. Obviously, he totally can. He's way older than her, but that made me giggle. And it was kind of sweet that he's just like, if anyone put anyone under spell, it's not me putting her under spell. Oh, and then this one just talks about how it's been 3 days since her mother found out, and Dawn still hasn't contacted her, and she was surprised that her mother hadn't said anything. Did she? And then Bone said maybe she'll surprise you and won't, because she actually has no one else but you, and you're her daughter, so maybe she won't. That's what she said. Does she really fear losing me as much as Bone said? After my whole life of feeling like my mother would be happier without me, it was very unusual to think she sacrificed some of her raging prejudice to have a relationship with me. Or she was just biding her time. That was the more likely scenario. And that, I tagged that because that's like really sad that she feels that way, that her mother is that prejudiced, that even her own daughter she's prejudiced against. And she can't even help what she is, but... Okay, and then this. Bones, before we do this, I have to tell you something. You know, I still care about you, obviously. But it's more than that. I still love you. I've never stopped, actually. Even though I tried to snap out of it over the years. I don't expect you to feel the same way, but I've never stopped loving you. He cut me off, coming over to take me in his arms. Not for an instant, even when I was so angry at you for leaving me. I've always loved you, kitten. He kissed me a slow, deep kiss, like we had all the time in the world. I wish we did, but right now I was afraid I might never see him again. So I did that obviously because it's so sweet and romantic. That after 4 years, they never stopped loving each other. And then just pick right up, and I mean, I definitely recommend these books. They're super good, full of action, romance. There's also very steamy scenes. And if you love vampires, these are really good grown-up vampire books to read. So yeah, definitely recommend to pick these up and read them. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.